Today, we'll explore the chilling case of a 6-year-old girl who vanished in plain sight during a Little League baseball game. Witnesses reported seeing a suspicious man nearby, but despite decades of searching, no one could find her. Yet, years later, a shocking announcement reignited hope. On June 9th, 1995, 6-year-old Morgan Nick vanished from the Alma Little League baseball field in Arkansas. That summer evening was warm and ordinary, filled with the familiar sounds of cheering parents and the crack of bats hitting baseballs. Children laughed and darted across the open field, chasing fireflies while games unfolded under the stadium lights. Morgan was among them, playing with friends near the parking lot that bordered the field. At one point, she stopped to empty sand from her shoe, bending down just a short distance from where her mother, Colleen Nick, was sitting in the stands. When Colleen looked away for only a few moments, Morgan was still there. But when she turned back, her daughter was gone. Morgan's description was quickly broadcast to anyone who could help. She was 4 feet tall, weighed 55 pounds, and had blonde hair and bright blue eyes. That evening, she wore a Girl Scout t-shirt, blue denim shorts, and white tennis shoes. Colleen's brief absence triggered a frantic search that spread rapidly across the ballpark. Parents, players, and bystanders scoured the surrounding area, calling Morgan's name into the dimly lit night. Police responded immediately, stressing how crucial the first hours were. Officers warned that every passing minute placed Morgan in greater danger. Witnesses described a suspicious man seen nearby, watching the children earlier in the evening. Authorities released his description: a white male, about 6 feet tall, medium build, with dark brown and gray hair, possibly a mustache or beard. Investigators also noted 2 attempted kidnappings in western Arkansas within 3 days of Morgan's disappearance, incidents they believed could be connected to the same suspect. That night in Alma, a brief, unremarkable moment turned into a nightmare that would haunt a family and community for decades. In the hours after Morgan Nick's disappearance, the community of Alma and neighboring towns responded with urgency and determination. Friends, family, and volunteers organized almost immediately, printing and distributing thousands of flyers that displayed Morgan's photograph alongside a composite sketch of the suspected abductor. Pink ribbons, chosen because they were Morgan's favorite color, became a symbol of hope and solidarity. They were tied around trees, light poles, and mailboxes, as well as around Morgan's home in Ozark. Residents wore them pinned to their clothing, and entire streets were lined with them as reminders that a 6-year-old girl was still missing. As the search expanded, police received between 1,600 and 1,700 investigative leads. The overwhelming number of tips created a backlog that law enforcement admitted was difficult to manage quickly, but every lead was logged and pursued as resources allowed. Investigators also tried less conventional methods, including hypnotizing a witness who claimed to have seen the abduction. Despite the effort, this approach failed to produce significant new information. Law enforcement officials repeatedly emphasized how critical time was. They stated that Morgan's danger increased with each passing hour, but they refused to abandon hope of recovering her safely. Meanwhile, community members continued to pray and search relentlessly. Volunteers combed through every dirt road and back road they could think of, determined to uncover any trace of the missing child. To encourage more tips, local businesses collectively offered a reward of $7,500. Despite periods of frustration over slow progress, Alma's commitment to finding Morgan never wavered. The earliest leads in Morgan Nick's disappearance centered on witness accounts from the Alma baseball field and nearby areas. The most critical detail released by investigators was the description of the suspected kidnapper: a white male, approximately 6 feet tall, of medium build, with dark brown and gray hair. Witnesses reported he may have had a beard or mustache, and his presence near the children that evening drew attention. Police emphasized that this man might also have been responsible for 2 other attempted kidnappings reported in western Arkansas within 3 days of Morgan's abduction. The possibility that one person was targeting multiple children created urgency, as investigators feared he could strike again if not located quickly. A witness told police about seeing a suspicious man watching the children play. His vehicle was also described, and it matched reports from the other incidents, reinforcing the likelihood of a connection. These combined accounts became central to the investigation and were immediately circulated through news broadcasts and printed materials. Authorities made repeated appeals to the public, urging residents to report any unusual behavior or suspicious individuals. They stressed that someone in the community likely knew the man in question. As one officer stated, "Somewhere out there are people that know the individual," highlighting how critical public awareness was in breaking the case. Despite hundreds of calls pouring in, frustration grew over the slow pace of progress. Yet the descriptions released in those first days became the foundation of flyers, alerts, and statewide efforts to find Morgan and stop the suspect. 1 year after Morgan Nick's disappearance, her family, friends, and supporters returned to the Alma Little League baseball field to mark what would have been her 7th birthday. The same place where Morgan vanished was transformed into a scene of unity and remembrance, with over 1,000 people gathering to honor her. Attendees joined hands in a circle and released dozens of bright pink balloons into the sky, each symbolizing hope that Morgan would one day return home safely. For Colleen Nick, the gathering carried profound meaning. She called the site a field of bad dreams, but on this day, it became a space filled with determination and faith. Media coverage of the event noted how the people who attended were the ones who still firmly believed Morgan was alive. Colleen's speeches during the rally were described as the driving force behind the perseverance of those present. She spoke passionately about refusing to accept grim statistics, declaring her unwavering belief that Morgan would come home. Her strength had also extended far beyond Alma. By the first anniversary, Colleen had emerged as a national advocate for missing children, speaking at the White House and sharing Morgan's story on programs like Oprah. Around the same time, police received a significant lead from Phoenix, Arizona. Witnesses reported seeing a girl resembling Morgan in a restaurant, with her hair cut bluntly, accompanied by a man whose vehicle matched the abductor's description and carried Arkansas plates. Authorities considered the sighting credible enough to issue a public alert, renewing hope for answers. A major turn in the investigation came when a 36-year-old deaf man from Crawford County gave a videotaped confession to police. In his statement, he admitted that he had gone to the Little League field the night Morgan Nick disappeared. He confessed to raping her and later waking up with blood on his clothes. After seeing reports of the abduction on the news, he said he burned the clothing. According to the affidavit, the man stated that he felt that "I did it," directly referring to Morgan's case. Following the confession, law enforcement obtained search warrants for his home and vehicle. During the search, authorities seized a total of 22 items considered potentially relevant to the investigation. Among the items collected were a pink toothbrush, a knife, a wood chisel, and a roll of duct tape containing hair fibers. Several other objects bore dark reddish stains, and investigators also recovered a single long reddish-blonde hair. Each piece of evidence was carefully packaged and sent to the FBI for forensic analysis to determine if it could be connected to Morgan. Despite the weight of the confession and the physical evidence gathered, no immediate charges were filed. Investigators emphasized that they needed to wait for the forensic results before proceeding, ensuring that any prosecution would be based on solid, verifiable proof. The suspect was questioned but ultimately released while the testing was underway. This decision caused frustration throughout the community. Many residents voiced outrage that a man who confessed to involvement could walk free, with some insisting he should have been kept in custody. Police officials responded by acknowledging the public's concern, but stressed the need for airtight evidence to prevent mistakes that could compromise the case. They remained in regular contact with the FBI, though they admitted testing could take months, prolonging the uncertainty. Colleen Nick never allowed the confession or its grim details to break her belief that Morgan was alive. She spoke openly about questioning her own thoughts and searching for answers, but said she had never felt any other conclusion. Describing the unexplainable instinct parents often develop, she said she trusted hers completely. Even during the most difficult moments, Colleen emphasized that losing focus would mean no one could do the work required to bring Morgan home. She became the driving force behind continuous efforts to keep her daughter's story in public view. Traveling across the country, she spoke at fundraisers, met with law enforcement agencies, and worked with the Justice Department on specialized training to improve missing child investigations. She also launched Project Hope, an initiative designed to provide emotional and practical support to families experiencing similar tragedies. Her ability to inspire determination in others was noted by community members who said that when Colleen believed, they believed. She repeatedly urged people to keep sending in leads, warning that even if the suspect was guilty, Morgan was not home, and stopping the search would be dangerous. Colleen also spoke about the importance of thorough, careful evidence handling, insisting that it be done correctly so it could hold up in court, whether it implicated the suspect or cleared him. Her composure and leadership became a focal point of media coverage, and many credited her relentless advocacy as the reason Morgan's case remained active and visible long after the initial headlines had faded. In 2010, investigators conducted a search on a property in Spiro, Oklahoma, tied to a person of interest in Morgan Nick's disappearance. At that time, the search warrant authorized only the inspection of the house, leaving the surrounding land untouched. The residence was later demolished, but the individual connected to the site was never conclusively linked to Morgan's case, nor was he fully cleared by authorities. 7 years later, in December 2017, new information unrelated to Morgan's disappearance brought investigators back to the same property. This time, crews executed a meticulous excavation of the land, digging only an inch or two at a time to ensure that nothing significant was overlooked. Forensic pathologists from the State Medical Examiner's Office examined every layer of soil as it was removed. After reaching bedrock at approximately 2 feet, officials confirmed that no well existed on the site and no physical evidence tied to Morgan had been uncovered. The FBI stated they were fully confident that the search had been thorough and that nothing had been missed. Despite the lack of findings, law enforcement emphasized that Morgan's investigation was not a cold case. Officials continued to receive leads and follow up on them regularly, maintaining active efforts even decades after her disappearance. Colleen Nick responded to the outcome by expressing gratitude for the renewed work and reiterating her commitment to fight every day for Morgan's return. Her words reinforced the ongoing resolve shared by both her family and investigators to keep the search alive. In 2021, the FBI publicly named Billy Jack Links as a person of interest in Morgan Nick's disappearance. Links had been arrested in 1995, only 2 months after Morgan vanished, for the attempted abduction of a young girl in Van Buren County. The location of this incident was just 8 miles from the Alma baseball field where Morgan was last seen. Authorities emphasized that crimes against children are rarely isolated acts. Offenders who attempt abductions often repeat their behavior, which made Links's prior arrest highly significant to the investigation. Though he died in prison in 2000, the FBI appealed to the public for help. They urged anyone who knew him, no matter how casually, to come forward with information, stressing that even the smallest, seemingly insignificant detail could provide the missing link to solving the case. During the announcement, Colleen Nick once again shared her unwavering belief that Morgan survived. She reminded everyone of who Morgan was, a 6-year-old girl who loved cats, enjoyed apples, and even considered bubblegum to be its own food group. Morgan dreamed of growing up to be both a circus performer and a doctor, ambitions that reflected her playful personality and limitless imagination. Colleen's message to Morgan was direct and heartfelt. She said that even if Morgan had forgotten who she was or where she came from, her family had never forgotten her. They continued fighting every day to bring her home. This announcement reinforced both the persistence of investigators and the enduring hope surrounding the case. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These unsolved cases deserve to stay in the spotlight until answers are finally found.